No, you didn't. No,
well,
you didn't.
Yes, you did.
You didn't.
Yes,
you
you
said
did.
that he paid off Paula Jones. That's not a crime. That's not even close to a crime.
Okay, clearly not if you're a Democrat.
That's just settling a case.
Okay, so when Trump settles the case, it's a crime. When Bill Clinton does, it's not.
But that's not. Wait a minute.
Even though in Bill Clinton's case, even though in Bill Clinton's case, hang on. Even though in Bill Clinton's case, it was,
you know, he falsified business records, right?
It was in Bill Clinton's case, it was for sexual harassment. In Trump's case, it was simply a payoff to keep a porn star quiet. Again, I say that the allegation that Paula Jones made was more serious.
No, listen, you're wrong on the facts. Settlement is not a crime. Even sexual harassment is not a crime. You could say it's terrible, it's not a crime. So in the case of Donald Trump, falsifying business records is definitely a crime. 34 other people went to jail for it under Alvin Bragg.
Okay.
So why should Donald Trump be above the law?
Okay.
Piers, you're literally saying, even if you were right and Bill Clinton was quote-unquote above the law, you're saying, well, Donald Trump should be above the law. He should be able to break any law he likes.
I actually
because he's one of the elites.
Okay, I'm going to come to George Santos. I don't think it serves the American national interest to see a president, one of the 46 people to hold this incredible office, dragged through a criminal court over something so comparatively trivial that would normally just be a state misdemeanor and has been trumped up to be this huge felony. And it's a deliberate attempt to stop Trump winning the election.
All right, folks, I got to give Piers Morgan some credit today because I know I've been critical of him at times in the past, especially with the Alex Jones stuff. But I got to say, his take on the Trump conviction, that sham trial, has not only been on the money, but it's also pretty well articulated. And I will say, I think it is important sometimes that people in the center, and I think Piers Morgan in terms of media figures is as close to a true centrist as you're going to get in our politics, say this type of stuff. Because, you know, when a conservative makes this type of argument, you'll say it's partisan. You'll say, oh, well, they're biased. What's the other side saying? And I think the plague that a lot of independents, a lot of moderates, a lot of centrist voters in our politics suffer from is that they have way too much trust in the institutions. Their beliefs may not be the most far left like the modern Democratic Party, but they're going to look at, say, a convicted felon and say, well, I trust in the justice system. I believe the FBI. I believe the CIA. I trust our government, you know. And so I think it is good here that a guy like Piers called it out. It is institutional rot. It is a corrupt institution. And so we're going to react today to the segment he did following the verdict. And later on, he brings none other, okay, the epic crossover here, none other than Cenk Uygur, our favorite former Democrat presidential candidate, and they have a little bit of a back and forth, and so we'll talk about all of that. But first, I want you to hear Piers's articulation and take on the entire situation, because I think he makes a specific point here that is very important for some people to hear. Check it out.
Well, Donald Trump's unfounded election denials undermine the American people's faith in the democratic process, something I've criticized him to his face for. But the hush money trial will be no different in the scale of its impact on the public's trust in their institutions, and I suspect it'll be no less damaging. This verdict doesn't show that everyone's equal under the law, as many are now arguing. It shows that anybody, even a former president, can be convicted for a relatively trivial offence if the full weight of the establishment is brought to bear against them.
So I'm going to pause right there and say one thing, because I agree with everything Piers Morgan says in this segment, besides that opening part, because he basically says that, hey, Trump's election denial is damaging to our democracy, but so is equally the conviction of Donald Trump. I'll say no. The things that are not equivalent at all whatsoever. You know why? One is just words. The other is actions, right? A criminal conviction in a court of law, I don't think they're at all similar. And so I understand the point he's trying to make, especially appealing to people in the center, trying to say, hey, look, both sides here, but it's not actually true. This is significantly worse than any denial of elections, quote unquote, that Trump could do. Okay, anyways, let's continue.
Prosecution had to perform judicial gymnastics just to make this a felony case. The district attorney, Alvin Bragg, is a card-carrying Democrat who's made no secret of his feelings about Donald Trump or his desire to nail him legally. And ask yourself this: would any other businessman have found themselves in court on felony charges for this? If the answer is no, then self-evidently not everyone is equal under the law. This could open the legal floodgates to political prosecutions motivated by revenge and spite, And plenty of the Democrats now celebrating could soon find the prison boot ends up on the other foot. I never thought I'd live to see an American president convicted on felony charges. It's an extraordinary moment in modern history. But I always imagined if it did happen, then the case might be about something like a deadly illegal war, an act of treason, or corruption on a grand scale. In the end, it was nothing like that. It was a tawdry overreach designed to humiliate and discredit a political leader involving a payoff to a porn star for an alleged one-night stand 18 years ago. And for that, they dragged an American president through a criminal court for 2 months when he should have been campaigning for the election. This, I'm afraid, will go down as a sad and shameful and frankly ridiculous day for America. Well, that's my view.
So you heard the point that Piers Morgan made there. There has never been an American president convicted on felony charges for war crimes or corruption or treason, but we do have this Donald Trump situation where, well, he paid off a porn star. Oh my gosh. I think that is one of the strongest arguments you can make to anyone out there who's on the fence. Maybe I do trust the justice system, maybe I don't. Just think about it for a second, okay? All of the things that the majority of us agree that past presidents have done, but they got away with. Again, war crimes, the Iraq War, George Bush lying about it. Was he ever sent to jail for that? Was he ever even put on trial for that? The answer is absolutely not. And the people who have done all sorts of things to run our country into the ground, the people who are literally insider trading as we speak, Nancy Pelosi, but a lot of Republicans too, sitting there in Congress, we see it happening. Is anything done about that? No. Very blatant crimes that are going on in government are completely ignored. But Donald Trump, the one guy who is an unorthodox, anti-establishment figure in politics, they come after him for something that happened in his private life almost 20 years ago. If you, as a person on the fence, look at that and say you can't see through that, you can't see what's going on here, and let's just kind of concede the argument to them, even if you believe Donald Trump maybe did something a little bit fishy or whatever, I'm not saying he did, I'm just saying for argument's sake, does that outweigh the insider trading going on? Does that outweigh the Iraq War? And all of the Americans right now who are dead, never got to come home to their families, never got to have families of their own, or they came home disabled from IUDs. You see the veterans all the time like that. Were the politicians who lied about that war, and by the way, probably did commit war crimes in the Middle East as well, were they ever put on trial for any of that? If the answer is no, and you know that it is, then truly I challenge everyone out there who is like, oh, I trust our justice system, have faith in our institutions. So that's part of why I wanted to play Piers Morgan's monologue there, because I think the point he made about 0 convictions for war crimes, but convictions for a porn star before he was president, very, very powerful. Okay, with that said, later on, when he gets to the guests here, he brings on Cenk Uygur, and we had to react to that because it is Cenk Uygur. Okay, let's start playing that.
It's not to defend anything that Trump has done. It's simply to say, why is he the one who's been singled out for this treatment, given that Bill Clinton and others on the Democrat side were never treated this way?
Yeah, Piers, I'm bilingual. I speak both populist and establishment. So in this case, I think that both sides have a point, but often misstated. So first of all, does the establishment target people that challenge its power? Yes, it does. So it'll go against populist left and populist right. It'll try to do cancel culture. Whenever it wants to target someone, it'll dig and dig and dig. So I've been the victim of that. A lot of people have been the victim of that. But in my case, for example, they dug and found absolutely nothing. So they had to go to jokes from 19 years ago, jokes. So that's when you know someone's as clean as a whistle. But the minute you dig under Donald Trump, just a giant number of crimes spring up, because he's a lifelong con man and he's a lifelong criminal. So I think that but at the same time, MAGA has an instinct that isn't wrong. So let me explain that, because the people in the establishment and Democrats can't understand this for the life of them. Look, guys, and MAGA gets a part of it wrong too, which is that Donald Trump actually wasn't going to be charged with any of this stuff as long as he didn't run for president again. even though he did all of these crimes.
Pause right there. I know Cenk Uygur tries to do all these mental gymnastics because he's a leftist, he hates Donald Trump, but also he's a progressive, so he's against the Democrats and the establishment and all that. But thank you, Cenk, for admitting something that was completely true, which is Donald Trump would have never been prosecuted for these crimes if he never tried to run for president again. Yeah, doesn't that tell you everything you need to know, Cenk? Then it is a political persecution, is it not? By definition, that's what you just admitted it was. But no, it was justified because Donald Trump is bad, but also the Democrats are bad because I wanted Bernie Sanders in 2016. It's a bunch of cope, okay? It's a bunch of cope. But thank you, Cenk, for making an honest point, and I appreciate that.
Of course, his biggest crime is that he had the false elector scheme to do a coup against America. And in this particular case, did he do this crime? Indisputably so. That's why it was so easy for the jury. And you mentioned that Michael Cohen is a convicted felon. Yeah, he was convicted for this same exact crime. They're co-conspirators. This is a serious case. Falsifying business records. Alvin Bragg, as you asked, has anybody else been prosecuted?
You're not answering my question, which is why is it one rule applied to Trump, but a very different set of rules applying to Bill Clinton, who committed what I would argue were far worse offences, frankly, than what Trump did in the Stormy Daniels case.
No, Piers, what you're misunderstanding is that there's two different sets of rules for the powerful and the powerless. So the powerless will be tried on all these crimes. The powerful are never tried on any of these crimes. What MAGA and you are complaining about is, oh my God, Donald Trump is being treated like a normal person instead of one of the elites.
Again, just pure mental gymnastics. Cenk Uygur is trying to do everything he can to be super anti-Trump, which he is. I'm not accusing him of faking it. I mean, I think he really does believe that. But he's trying to make it consistent with his anti-establishment populist thing. Cenk, they're not consistent, okay? You admitted yourself that it was a political prosecution. So I think that's the end of the story, you know, but he's trying to play all this. Okay.
Hey, you're not listening. That's not what I'm putting to you. I'm putting to you...
That's exactly what you're saying.
No, I'm asking you why Bill Clinton was never put through a criminal court mincer, given what he did, many would argue, was worse.
Piers, no, not even close to worse. That's absurd.
Really?
Look, Piers, yes.
Having sex with an intern in the Oval Office and then lying about it to the American people? Paying off Paula Jones hundreds of thousands of dollars to settle a harassment case? You don't think that's at least illegal. As bad, if not worse? That's not even
close to illegal.
Trump had a one-night stand with a porn star 18 years ago. Who cares? He wasn't running for president then.
Of course.
He was a business guy.
Piers, you're not... Okay, listen.
I'm just going to say this, and we all know it is true. If they scrutinized Bill Clinton's past personal life to the degree to which they've done for Donald Trump, yeah, the guy would be in jail for life, okay? That's all I'm going to say.
Trump had a one-night stand with a porn star 18 years ago. Who cares? He wasn't running for president then.
Of course.
He was a business guy.
Piers, you're not... Okay, listen. Back when Clinton was being... impeached, etc. I was a Republican, but as always, I was unbiased, and I said, "What do we started on a real estate deal? It turns out he didn't do anything wrong in the real estate deal. Now we're going into his personal life, and then you dig and dig and say, oh well, you denied the affair when you actually had the affair. Oh, what was he going to do? Admit it?" And I was like, guys, this is a fishing expedition. But what I'm trying to explain to you, Piers, is that if you go on a fishing expedition on Trump, which I think they did, they weren't going to because he was one of the elites. They were going to... Merrick Garland protected him for 2.5 years. The whole time I'm screaming, will you try him already? He tried a coup, you idiot.
Right, look.
And he let him stay there for 2.5 years. But when you go on a fishing expedition with Donald Trump, you come back with a lot of fish. You come back with whales.
Yeah, but trust me,
can't stop breaking the law.
Okay, but when you go on one with Bill Clinton, you catch a lot of fish too. Let's bring in George Santos.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
Yes, you did.
You didn't.
Yes, you did.
You said that he paid off Paula Jones. That's not a crime. That's not even close to a crime.
Okay, clearly not if you're a Democrat.
That's just settling a case.
Okay, so when Trump settles the case, it's a crime. When Bill Clinton does, it's not.
But that's not... Wait a minute.
Even though in Bill Clinton's case... Hang on. Even though in Bill Clinton's case...
Piers, you know he falsified business records, right?
It was, in Bill Clinton's case, it was for sexual harassment. In Trump's case, it was simply a payoff to keep a porn star quiet. Again, I say that the allegation that Paula Jones made was more serious.
No, listen, you're wrong on the facts.
Yeah, so there you have it. Again, according to Cenk Uygur, if you went through the records of the Clinton Foundation and, went through every single line, you wouldn't find any accounting that seemed a little off. I really wonder about that. But yeah, the bigger point there is if you went through the Clintons to the extent to which they've gone through Trump, we already know this, guys. All right, so there's the little debate segment that I wanted to react to. But before we close up this video, I know we've been doing this running chronicle on the data, right? How do Americans really feel about the arguments that you heard earlier in those clips? And we've been looking at the polls, fundraising data, etc., to see how much is this going to affect the election. And it would be a reasonable argument to say right after the conviction, Donald Trump should see a small hit in the polls because, hey, that's bad news for Trump. He might go down a few points. But as I have been sort of predicting here, it overall is not actually making a big difference, which means, hey, you convict a president as a felon and he only goes down by 1 point and then he rebounds. That's not good news for the Democrats. That's the exact opposite of what they wanted. They were hoping this would be the thing to sabotage the election for them, right? Well, check this out. We got new reports today out of the Morning Consult, and this is the change in their polling from 531 when Donald Trump was convicted to 6-2, which was yesterday on Sunday. And check this out. In that span of a couple days, from Thursday to Sunday, okay, Donald Trump was at 44% on Thursday. He was at 44% again on Sunday. But check it out. Joe Biden went down by 2. So if I'm not mistaken, right when the conviction hit, Biden was leading in their national poll 46-44, likely because of the bad news. But you want to wonder, how long is the bad news going to stick? Is it going to have a big impact by November? I've been saying, hey, with time, it'll recover. We didn't take as bad of a hit as the Democrats were hoping we would, and so we should be fine. But check it out. Just in the span of a few days, according to their poll, Donald Trump has already reclaimed the lead. And so that was Democrats' brief moment of victory lap. But now it seems it's already washed away. And we are now going back to a normal election, which means, at least according to this poll we got on Monday, hey, maybe their dirty little trick isn't working out the way we thought. But again, we will have to see on that front. Okay, just wanted to share that because I know we've been doing that and I figured I might as well give you today's news along with this video. With that said, folks, be sure to let me know your thoughts on all of this in the comment section down below. Leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new. And until next time, Alpha Moves Only, God bless. Have a very great rest of your day and peace.